Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. I'm going to have a look at the weather next 8 to 10 days in today's video. We'll be seeing some interesting conditions coming up next week. I think high pressure is going to try to build up from the Azores towards the end of next week, and it might push into the country and then slip to the east, maybe bringing up some quite hot air from the south next weekend. So not the coming weekend, but the third weekend of May. So I'm not sure how extensive that will be. It's very early in the year to be talking about Spanish blues, but it's not beyond the realm of impossibility that that's the way things could go. We'll start off having a look at central temperature because it's turning out to be a very warm May so far. But before I get on with all of that, just say about the ads. There's links for articles on all the pages. Have a browse through the widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. Thanks so much for doing that. There's video ads on most of the pages which open up the content when you watch them. They'll close back up again. It does help to pay for Gazworthies.com. So just starting with that central England temperature. Currently, provisionally, we stand at 13.2, which is an anomaly of nearly 3 degrees above average, 2.7 degrees above average. That is provisional to the 11th through to yesterday. If we was to keep this sort of level of temperature, somewhere in the 13 Celsius, it would be a very warm May. But last time we had a May going above 13 Celsius in the central England region was back in 2008. So it's been quite a while, but we've had a May like this. That came out at 13.4. I'm not sure if you remember, but 2008, despite that very warm May, following on, interestingly, from a fairly chilly March and April combination as well. But despite that very warm May that we had in 2008, it was actually a very poor summer, really miserable and very wet. Going back beyond that to the last time we had a central England temperature into the 13s in May, it was 1998 this year just here. Again, interestingly, following along after a pretty cold April in 1998, and also an unravelling of El Nino and a flip towards La Nina. Again, despite that very warm May that occurred in 1998, the summer of 1998 just here was really very poor indeed. And then going beyond that to 1992, the last time, or the time before that we had a central temperature in May above 13 Celsius, this one just here. And again, despite that warm May, the summer of 1992, very poor, especially the second half of summer. We did have a really good June. It was hot in June in 1992, but July saw a deterioration, and then August was a pretty dismal month in 1992. So it just goes to show, essentially, that despite having a very warm spell in May, or warm month in May, it doesn't mean anything really for the summer. Sometimes it'll carry on. If I was to go back further, I could actually take back to 1947, where we had a May going above 13 Celsius in the central England region, and that was a hot summer. So essentially the point I'm trying to get across is that a warm May neither means that it's going to be a hot summer, doesn't mean it's going to be a cold summer, particularly either. Although the last 3 Mays that went up above 13 Celsius in the central England region were followed by pretty poor summers. But I don't really think there's a connection there. So coming back to the situation at the moment, anyway, that is the latest central England temperature. It's provisional, it's 13.2, an anomaly of nearly 3 degrees above average. We'll keep an eye on it, see what's going to happen. It's probably going to tick down over the next 2 or 3 days, but then there's probably more weather coming up next week. Just having a look at the 500 millibar height anomalies for the coming week to 10 days. We've got the ECM WF on the top, and the GFS is on the bottom, which I'll have a look at in a moment. These are the mean flow charts for the next 8 to 10 days. This takes us to around the 22nd of May. Remember, orange extrapolates high pressure and blue to low pressure. Essentially, they're placing a trough out to the northwest of the UK and a ridge building up from the southwest as we go through next week. So the jet stream going something like that. We're being placed just about onto the mild side of the jet, especially later in the week. And if this ridge builds any further than this, for example, if it builds up here in central parts of Europe, then that will allow the winds to go into the south and possibly bring some quite hot air up from the south. The GFS, very similar, again showing the trough out to the north and west, south of Greenland. The ridge is building up from the Azores into the UK next week. Again, the jet stream does something like that. So I think both models are implying that the Azores High is going to be building up through the course of next week and probably placing us onto the warm side of the jet. Let's have a look at the GFS ensembles for the next couple of weeks. Got temperature, precipitation first of all. So the red line here is the 30-year temperature average. We're above average at the moment, and have been past few days. That's why it's been pretty warm up to this point in May. Going to go colder for a few days from Friday into the weekend. But you see, quite quickly, those temperatures do pick up. And by the time you get through into next week, and the dates on the bottom of the chart, by the time you get into next week, temperatures are picking back up again. And it does look as though it's going to turn quite warm, I think, here as we get through to the end of next week and into that third weekend of May. Precipitation, well, after yesterday's deluge, it was a deluge for a lot of places, plenty of dry weather coming up now for the rest of this week and into weekend. Fair amount of dry weather. There are the hints of some showery bursts through into the second half of next week, possibly associated with that build of pressure from the Azores trying to push the jet stream north. As it does so, might bring some weather systems through the country. But overall, it doesn't look desperately wet by any means. A fair amount of dry weather coming up. Temperature anomalies for the coming week. This takes us from the 12th, from today, Thursday the 12th, through to Friday the 20th of May. Just a little bit cooler than average. Most of Europe looking really quite chilly, you'll notice. We aren't as cold as that, but we are a little bit below average there for the coming week in terms of potential anomaly. However, this is majorly factoring in the next 2 or 3 days from Friday through to Sunday, which does look quite chilly. When we get beyond that into next week, I think the temperatures will pick up. So I expect these to be trending warmer, these charts, over the next few days. Precipitation anomaly from the 12th to 20th, that's looking drier than average. So here we go with the genetic charts. This is for Monday. High pressure nosing in off the Atlantic. We'll lose that cooler feel to start next week that we're going to have over the weekend. Temperatures will begin to lift up under this ridge through the beginning of next week. Tuesday and Wednesday brings a weather system into the north and west as this high pressure is trying to build up from the Azores. So this could bring some showery rain in from the west through the middle part of next week, particularly for the northwest, not as much of the south and southeast because we're closer to this nose of high pressure from the Azores. And then beyond that into the second half of next week, again, the Azores High trying to nose in means weather systems to the north and west still irritating us, still stopping this Azores High from really getting into the second half of next week. But by Saturday, we find the pressure building over France as this low pressure begins to stall out to the west of the country. And we go through to day 10, which is Sunday the 22nd of May. And then you see what's happened. The high pressure's built through France into central parts of Europe. There it is centred over Germany. The low pressure is stalling out to the northwest. The jet stream is going something like that. And we're starting to move up hotter air from the south during that weekend of the 21st, 22nd of May. The upper air temperatures show that very warm, if not hot air, starting to push up out of France in towards the south of England and beyond day 10. Don't normally go beyond day 10, but it does imply that this warmth continues and possibly becomes unstable into the start of the following week, which is Monday the 23rd of May. You wouldn't rule out the chance of thundery showers or thunderstorms breaking out in what looks like really quite a warm, if not hot spell. The ECMWF, that shows this nose of high pressure on Monday, start next week. Then it all gets a bit flattened off as low pressure moves into the north and west. So expect some showery conditions around the middle part of next week. It will take a while to get this Azores High really building through. That continues into Thursday, possibly even into Friday as well next week. So we could end up with quite a showery week next week. But by the weekend of the 21st, 22nd of May, again, the idea is to build this ridge through the south and the east of the country as this low pressure gets pushed up to the north and west. Again, this ridge here through Central Europe, which starts off as an Azores ridge, pushes the jet stream low pressure north like that and allows warmer, if not hotter air to begin to move up from the south. That could be the start of a Spanish plume. It's a bit early, as I say, for thinking about Spanish plume, but it could be the start of it. And if it did, of course, we have to think about some quite hot temperatures getting up into mid-high 20s Celsius potentially, and maybe even with the risk of thunderstorms as well. So despite the fact we're going to have a couple of cooler days over the weekend, it looks like we're in for a pretty warm May here now, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if the temperature for May stays significantly warmer than average. As we've already explained, that doesn't necessarily mean much at all for the summer, but yeah, some pretty warm weather, I think, for this May in 2016. Right, that's all for now. We're going to be doing JMA Friday tomorrow, so we'll be having a look at the month ahead with Japanese and CFS V2 models. Come about that. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.